Okay, folks, we're going to kick off. That is the most immediate response I've ever had as MC. Well, normally I have to go into M&M mode and say, can I have your attention, please, 3 or 4 times. So you're obviously a very good audience. Delighted to have you. You're very welcome to the, I'm going to say the Long Valley because I've forgotten the name of the what is it? The Hayloft Manor, whatever it is. It's the Hayloft. For the 674th edition of Ovale, which is also our 10th hybrid edition. This night is always a very special night. It's the Coventry Exchange night. For those who are unaware of that, for the last number of years, Cork's Ovale and Coventry have done an exchange, poetry and cultural exchange. It's been a fabulous experience for us here in Ovale, and I hope, well, I know that the guys on the other side agree with that completely. So there's lots of familiar faces here, but we have 2 very special guests from Coventry, Sujana and John, so we just give them a very gentle round of applause right now. Save the big applause for when we introduce them to do their readings in a little while. So the night occurs in 4 sections. The first section was the poetry films, was on from 7 until 7:45. If you've just arrived, you missed it. Be here at 7 o'clock the next time. Admonishments will be dished out to those of you who missed them. The second section, which we'll get to in a second, is the 5-word challenge. I'll explain the intricate details of that system when I get to it. The third section will be the guest poets. We will take a break after we've had the guest poets. And the final section of the night is the open mic, which you are all more than welcome to contribute to. So just a couple of quick notes on how the night works with it being a hybrid event. We use the open chat window for general comments, and attendees on Zoom can use the chat drop-down list for private messaging between individuals. If need be, participants are asked to regulate their own audio and background noise to ensure it's not too intrusive. We will also do our best to keep everyone muted when they're not reading. That doesn't include you here in the room. We won't be handing out any gags between now and the end of the night, although Jim Crickard was very disappointed when I told him that outside. So we'll get on. Sorry, Jim. You just happened to be in my peripheral vision at the time. It could have been anybody, I swear. Your secrets are safe. So the first part of the night, or the second part of the night, is the 5-word challenge. Again, just for those of you who are uninitiated, the 5-word challenge is an Ovale tradition. And what happens is I ask you, the audience, to contribute 5 words. I need a pen. Has anybody got a pen? I've just realised I'm trying to... Now, you don't have to shout 5 words. 1 word from anybody will do. Once we have 5 words and we have everybody's attention, I knew I'd have to do my M&M impersonation. Can I have your attention, please? Can I have your attention, please? So I'll take the 5 words. If you have a word in your head, don't worry about it being too fancy or too small. We like small words, actually. We like small words. And once we have 5, you'll be given 15 minutes, you and the guys on Zoom, to write a piece of writing, a poem. You can write a novel if you want, if you can do that in 15 minutes, but it has to include the 5 words. And then when we get to the end of the 15 minutes, we invite those of you who'd like to share your 5-word piece with us from the mic. And at the end of that, we announce a winner, which is decided on a very complicated scenario where the audience reaction to the poems and Zoom votes are combined, and we announce a winner. And the winner gets 2 books from this little pile behind me, either here in the room or we post them to them, and they also get a free drink. If you're in the room, you get the free drink here. If you're on Zoom, you have to get it out of your own fridge. We have had discussions about the possibility of posting the drink, but unfortunately the person who suggested it, who was in England, said, can you send me a barrel of Murphy's? We thought, you know what, we're not doing that. So has anybody got a word? Angel. Angel. Offshore. Offshore. That's 2. Harbour. Sensing a theme here. Lamb. Laugh. Laugh. L-A. Paul is typing them in. So we have L-A-U-G-H, laugh as in laughter. Giggle, giggle. Yeah. And we need seagulls. I'll call them back there now, Paul. So the 5 words are angel, offshore, harbour, laugh, and seagulls. Very best of luck with that combination. Yeah, no, you can't have your pen back under any circumstances. I never said I was borrowing it, did I? Did I say borrowing? Play back that tape there, Paul, see what I actually said. So you have 15 minutes starting from now, which is 20:35. You can do the maths. We'll see you at 20:50. Best of luck. This is your 1 minute warning. Okay, we're ready to go. Well, I'm ready to go. I don't know about the rest of you. I hope you enjoyed that little process. So at this stage, I'd ask people on Zoom if you're interested in sharing your 5-word poem. I keep looking at the screen, but the camera's over here apparently. I'm not television trained or friendly. So if you're on Zoom and you want to contribute to the 5-word challenge, please type your name into the chat box. Paul will keep an eye on that for us, and we'll interchange between people in the room and people on Zoom. If you're coming up to the mic to share your poem, you might just say your name before you start. I know quite a few of you, but there's a lot of you here I don't know. It would be very embarrassing for me to have to try and announce a winner without knowing their name. That's a difficult process. So when you come up, the first thing you might do is just say your name into the microphone. No, just whisper in my ear, whatever suits you. Okay? So somebody has to be first to go. So the mic is now open. Come on up, lovely. You don't have to put your hand up. Thank you for that, but you don't have to put your hand up. Thank you. Do you know what? I'll take that up there a little bit for you. Thank you.
There will be a day where I harbour no anger, and when the seagulls squawk and swirl the sky, I won't be irritated. Instead, I'll laugh because perhaps they are laughing. All my anger will dissolve as it drifts offshore and become the peaceful lull of the waves. As I watch the red sun tuck itself into the horizon, I'll feel my angel behind me, her hands on my shoulders, her wings shielding me from the breeze.
Thank you, Alish. A lovely, gentle way to start the 5-word challenge. So I'm going to leave the mic open if you want to come up. Come on, let's not get to the point where I have to go down there and drag you. What's your name?
Great. All right. Okay, I'm going to dedicate this poem, this 5-word poem, to Leo Varadkar, Darragh O'Brien, Eamon Ryan, and Pascal Donoghue. It's called The Angel of the Caymans. We have seagulls here, like any place else with a harbour, but the one thing you won't find in this offshore banking paradise are the poors. Well, none of them, who have no business here ministering to the money. We considered ear tagging them, for a laugh, of course, but we'd never hear the end of it from the do-gooders and the human rights freaks. We prize the quiet life here, best not to frighten the funds while they go forth and multiply. And if we had a patron for our confidential fiscal fiefdom, it would be an angel, but with $100 bills for feathers.
You have to tell me your name. Everyone has to tell me your name.
The harbour lights shone offshore along the man-made lines of concrete and dried up seaweed. All was still. Then ringing out, cackling, a strange unworldly laugh, streaming behind a swooping flock of seagulls. As they came to ground, the lights reared up, glowing, caught in their beam, a huge shape outlined against the dark sky. Wings made of black feathers, sown with algae and bladderwrack. No Neptune with his trident here, the vengeful angel rising from the sea. A reminder, maybe, to humanity.
Thank you, Ross. We're going to take the first one from Zoom. Doc Jennings, are you there? Doc Jennings, are you there?
Yes, I am here. Giaquich. Seagulls, airborne rats. Their raucous laugh heard offshore. Harbor is dive bombed. Just a haiku.
Thank you, Doc. I wonder if it's just a haiku part of the 5-word poem. I'm not sure. Just whisper your names as we create to have it. Thank you.
This is my last breath.
Oh, please.
My last breath, a gasp before I went under. The waves washing over and pulling me down. My life flashed and left me at this harbor. Fate knocked me over. Tides brought me offshore. My memories of blackness, no bright lights, just floating. A cool, calm surrender, my heart full of love. And suddenly I'm there, sprawled flat in the sand, spitting up seawater and a vision before me. An angel, a dove, No, just some damn seagulls laughing at me.
Thanks, Damien. Is anybody here trained as a paramedic? Not for Damien, for me, because I'm pretty sure my heart almost stopped there. No.
I call this Dirge of the Gulls. The last of the seagulls in my childhood sky sang out the day you left. A raucous chorus, a harsh tribute. They, my angels above, yet they know not my angel. That cry or that laugh, or is it yet song that follows you from this port? How many of my years you docked beside me, how many waves broke as you stood strong. You were my cove, my light, my boy, yet I could not hold your embrace. The pain I harbour is the cackle of these ruthless returners, their shriek to the offshore abyss where in the endless tide you tread the time I clutch at.
Right, we're going to jump onto Zoom here, and this is probably going to be mispronounced, but we go for it anyway. Spongo. It's S-P-H.
Yes, thank you very much. It's Congo. You pronounced that perfectly.
Is that anywhere close to being correct?
No, it's correct. It's Congo.
1 second there while I take a bite.
His love sent the seagulls flapping towards the harbor highway as the yacht hoped about the salty waters of the Bahamas. They'd done it. All his dreams were accomplished. Gullible people there. He smiled, knowing that his offshore account was dead for generations. My blood will celebrate me until gullible people they are. As he imagined his congregants waiting for the
Can you tell him to type it up and maybe someone can read it?
Okay, so Spongo, could you do us a favour and type the poem into the chat because the sound wasn't great? He's in Sierra Leone, so there's good reason for it not to be great. That deserves a round of applause, come on. I said at the start you're a good audience, you just dipped in my estimation. I had to ask you to applaud that. So Shango, would you mind just typing the poem into the chat box and we'll get someone to read it here so we can get a full sense of what the poems are about. Thank you very much. Next to the open mic.
Cathal. So this is actors. Offshore account securing any amounts for the actor by the name of Seagull. Well, let's call him that for legal reasons. But there's nowhere safer than, yet themself and David Harbour clink cups as comrades. Harbour's years of acting as a cop gives him years of experience to help this now nomad. They converse about tax evasion and laugh, for it's true on our own Seagull's behalf. An angel in disguise because blessings are now hard to come by as De Niro, Depp, DiCaprio, Downey Jr., the four horsemen are nigh. You see, Seagull owes them too. You'd never expect these lads to be so close, yet money always talks and it will again soon.
One more.
On the Zoom?
No bump, no button.
Offshore, fishermen feed guts to seagulls. Angel white bellies beneath cloud-tinted wings swoop and soar. Their cackles laugh the harbour song.
Just again, if there's any paramedics in the house, just be alright, just received a head injury. We're going to take one from Zoom there, so just a second. Mari, or Marie, Mari, are you there on Zoom?
Hi, Moira.
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 Yeah, I have to talk to Paul about the spelling. Carry on.
I missed the father off. Okay, here we go. Right. White feathers torn from angel wings, God's laugh turned to mundane things. We seagulls soar across the sky, screeching call and piercing cry. Polluted harbour where rubbish floats, white feathers soar o'er offshore boats. You call us vermin of the air, raise your fists, but we don't care. Sandwich clutched in chubby hand, cornet fallen on the sand. We follow ships across the bay, dive for the fish they throw away. What you discard or seek to keep, we'll take whatever we want to eat. White feathers ours, the angels heard. White feathers ours, we devil birds.
How can I compete with that? My name is Sue. All this name saying into the mic is also for the Zoom people because they'll vote on that. So if they don't hear your name, they don't know who to vote for. So so I called mine Spectacle of Light. The sun laughs in the face of seagulls, swerving, looping on the wings of the wind. Their sharp eyes overlooking the harbour, they screech of fish beneath the surface. The people on land shade their views over the water, casting lines into the unknown. As sunrays dance, a spectacle of light, a path from horizon across waves to land. Far out of shore, an angel lands in this glistening vector, leading his way over the surface towards the people who shade their views. Only the seagulls can see him, screeching their welcome to the wind.
Thanks, Sue. I'm just going to turn my back on you for a second because we have a poem here on the screen and I won't be able to read it because I don't have eyes in the back of my head. I had them removed a couple of years ago. I found them very inconvenient. So this is, whose poem is this again? Oh yes, here we go. This is ha 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 ha. His laugh sent the seagulls flapping towards the harbour island as the yacht bobbed above the salty waters of the Bahamas. He'd done it all. All his dreams were accomplished. Ha ha ha. Gullible people they are. He smiled knowing his offshore account was stacked for generations. My blood will celebrate me till infinity. Ha ha ha. Gullible people they are, as he imagined his congruence waiting for the angel of fortune.
Hi, this is actually my first time here. So. Nice to see you. So, in the harbor of my nostalgic heart, there's a seagull. He has a sweet laugh, and brings me memory from an offshore country where I left some history, love, adventures. Passion, hope, purity are its main characteristic colors of its flag floating in the night. I'm forever 17 and a half, eyes wide open to conquer, or rather be conquered by the unknown. From above, guiding me along an angel, because family goes beyond that blood, goes beyond that blood.
Thank you, Sailor. We take one from Zoom, Generalissimo.
Shalom, everyone.
Yeah, do that, yeah.
Do seagulls laugh? It is a mystery as much as the existence of angels. Maybe seagulls are angels that fell to earth due to untoward behavior in the afterlife, sent back to exist as creatures that soar through the firmament as grandiose offshore living mobile sculptures existing in harbor towns with restaurants serving delectable seafood culinary creations, yet forced to dive into salty seas for their sustenance. What must one who has achieved entry into heaven do for such a disciplinary sentence? Obviously, not at all a laughable offense.
Yeah, okay. Come on, you're just in time.
Perfect. So my poem is called Living with a Stripper. Through the cracked window of our apartment, my housemate slides the pole like a fireman in fishnets. Right behind the couch, adjacent to the table, half-naked angel, spiraling the pole while I watch RTE News. The kettle boils and steams the kitchen with stage smoke. Outside is a sign for passerbys to send money through Revolut. With cat-like eyes, she goes out at night, back by sunrise with tips to store in an offshore bank account. The seagulls tell all the crows down at the harbour about your one on Pope's Quay, and they laugh about your man drinking tea.
The name is Cedric. Sailing off. The seagulls call. They loft back, staring at the underwings, pointing and tracing the bird's path with their fingers, disregarding their number, and the dance of the boat under their feet as the day falls. They are children of the shore to an unknown destination. The seagulls are their guardian angels, indicator of a safer harbor to drop the anchor somewhere, anywhere at all.
Thanks, Cedric. We take Andrea from Zoom now.
Oh, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Mine's called Clandid No Vulture. The angel of death cut my lips stealing ice cream. He sped off on thick white wings, quills like the walking sticks of angry old men, and laughed. Offshore, the wind farm reaped the ghosts of holidays past with sails like seagulls' wings. Blessings always were more painful than expected. I need to sit down for a good 5 minutes, head like a harbour bell clanging sea shanties. That's it.
Untitled. In the harbour of 1,000 seagulls, no sound is better heard than the laugh of men offshore, drilling through the heart of an angel, blackness bleeding out from undersea, till 1,000 seagulls look as ravens, dressed for the funeral of laughing men.
Thank you, Aaron. Right, we have nobody else on Zoom, but if you're still there on Zoom and you'd like to contribute, just type your name in now. We have another couple of minutes. Philip is going to come up. He's looking very eager there.
There's so many good poems, it's hard to compete. She lost her laugh somewhere offshore, as if she lost the name of her friend. It was all caught in the throat. Seagulls mimic it, call more than once a while, as she cycled along the coastline, stopping at the harbour. The humour of salt seaweed, the woes of the waves. Her motion spread eagle, her mind jumps swim down to angel depths, locked between schools of funny fish. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Anybody else on Zoom, Paul? No? Okay. So we're in the room for the remainder, I think.
Yep. I'm Jamie. Courtmac Sherry's where my dad's heart is, where the harbour harbours larger fish, and the loud laughs waft on the offshore breeze from the anchor bar to the open seas. Curlews, Perus, tidal beach, and you don't hear much of the seagulls screech. My dad would swear he'd passed away and reached the other side if it weren't for the absence of angels.
There is no such thing as a seagull, she said. They're only really called gulls. But we insist on a prefix whether the gull be offshore, onshore, or just whoring into some cheesy chips somewhere in Navan. It's a funny flow of semantics, a sort of antic we use to define gulls as seagulls, even though linguistically they should just be gulls, but I suppose in comparison to seagull, gull does sound a little bit dull. I glance and laugh at the angel of the harbour, wondering how she could spout such tripe and still set my world totally alight.
Anybody else?
My name is Catherine. The poem is called Today. I could hear him offshore, music blaring. If I had a photograph of you, by a flock of seagulls. When he stepped ashore, I thought all my birthdays had come together. He looked like an angel, dial 222. He coaxed like a devil, called 666. So we hit the harbour bar for a laugh. That was 30 years ago today.
We currently have 21, and oh, I don't know, we're going again.
Sujana. I don't believe in angels unless they come at night. When sitting in the harbour, I hear them laugh and cry. Their coats are torn and soaked of gold that come from offshore. I don't believe in angels unless I hear the sirens too, the Sheilas and the devils and the seagulls speaking too.
Now, for those of you who did primary maths, you will now know we're at 22 entrants. Is there anybody else wants to take us to 23? There's always one kind of shy person around the room somewhere thinking, I don't know, maybe my poem isn't good enough. The truth is we don't really give a shit whether it's good enough or not. we just want to hear it. So if you've got a shit poem, now's your chance. Come on. Hey, there's always one. We've two shit poems in the room. What's your name?
Finton.
Finton, give you a bit of hype there.
I'm very glad you introduced the poem, as that actually that's what I was waiting for. Angels guide boats offshore, to and fro the harbour, wave as they come, wave as they go. Seagulls last the last laugh, but towards angels we shall flow.
Yeah. Okay, I'm thinking of introducing a sub-competition think between Fintan and Sophie might have who's got the most shit poem. We give an extra prize for that. So just bear that in mind while you're listening. I'm not saying that shit now, you know what I mean, Sophie?
No, it's good. Keep the expectation low. It's my first time here. Your name was Gabriel, like the angel. Two outcasts, cast offshore from the rolling waves of gabble conversation. I was drawn to the still harbour of your quiet presence, seeking refuge, only to become shipwrecked. I tried to tell someone after, but they laughed awkwardly, so I laughed too and bury it. I draw ink into my skin to reclaim my body as my own, a huge tsunami wave that could consume everything. But right at its pinnacle, it crests into seagulls and dissipates. An image from centuries ago that sang to me of hope.
Thank you, Sophie. So we're now at 24. This is definitely the last chance. Definitely the last chance. You mean you'd have to have a really shit poem to want it. But we'd still like to hear it. Is there anybody else genuinely? Is there anybody else? No. Well, in that case, we'll ask Paul to go and do... so at this point, we ask people on Zoom to type in winner and the name. Subaru had a really, really good point in the middle of that. If you didn't say your name into the mic, it doesn't matter how good your poem is. They can't vote for you on Zoom, you're fucked. So if you didn't say your name into the mic, you might as well just leave. And come back, go and have a cigarette, come back in 5 minutes for the guest poets. Anyway, type the name, and if you're not sure who they are on Zoom, put in the description short, gorgeous, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And then we'll figure out some way of announcing a winner in a moment. In the meantime, enjoy the silence of the bless your own Sydney. Can I have your attention, please? Can I have your attention, please? I know what a teacher feels like. No, I said enjoy the silence, and this is what we got back right now. No wonder teachers burn out. No wonder they burn out. Okay, it's always a close call thing here, right? So the votes on Zoom are in. They've been counted by Paul Casey. I've made some sort of weird calculation in my head about how the applause and the woohoos and all that went. It came down to 2 women. 2. One on Zoom and one in the room. That's a fucking poem. And just, it's going to go to Mari on Zoom. Moira, sorry, yeah, I got it wrong. So you're going to get a chance, Moira, to read your poem again. So if you would do that for us now, and then we're going to arrange to get 2 books posted to you and have a look in your fridge there and see what kind of drink you have that you can enjoy. You might let us know what you're drinking later on.
Wow, thank you. Wow, okay, here it goes. White feathers torn from angel wings, God's laugh turned to mundane things. We seagulls soar across the sky, screeching call and piercing cry. polluted harbour where rubbish floats, white feathers soar or offshore boats. You call us vermin of the air, raise your fists, but we don't care. Sandwich clutched in chubby hand, cornet fallen on the sand. We follow ships across the bay, dive for the fish they throw away. What you discard or seek to keep, we'll take whatever we want to eat. White feathers ours, the angels heard. White feathers ours, we devil birds.
Thank you, Moira, and congratulations. Now, on the shit poem competition, I was going to call it a tie, and then I said, no, I can't. You see, your poems just weren't shit enough to win a shit poem competition. So you just have to consider yourselves runners-up like everybody else in the room. Congratulations, and thanks for reading. We really appreciate it. Now, we're going on to the third section of the night, but we start with a few announcements, or to give it a very fancy term, a few housekeeping issues. Ovale aims to maintain a safe space for writers and attendees and subscribes to the Arts Council's Equality, Diversity and Inclusion policy. We ask participants to maintain respectful when communicating and to report any offensive behaviour to Ovale. Now, we've just had a 5-word challenge. There's also a 5-word international competition which runs online. There's 5 words announced on a Tuesday morning. You have a week to write a poem, enter it through the Ovale email, and there's a prize of €500 at the end of the year. Because you're here and we love the fact that you turned up, we give you a head start. So the 5 words that will be announced tomorrow morning online that you can write down now and begin scribbling with are thrum, what a beautiful word, thrum, tend, familiar, twin and sphere. Thrum, tender, familiar, twin and sphere. Now, the 10th Ovale Poetry Film Competition is open for entries until the 31st of August. Visit www.ovale.ie if you're interested in entering there. Again, don't worry if you think it's a shit film, put it in. I entered a shit film twice. No, please be aware that the event is recorded and will be available to revisit as an MP3 podcast and on video via vimeo.com Ovale. If you are contributing at some point between now and the end of the night and you'd like your piece not to be broadcast, please let me or Paul know and we'll ensure that we remove you from the recording. Now, our next event is on Monday, the 12th of September. It is a bilingual evening and the featured guests will be Isabel, they always do this to me, give me Irish, I don't speak Irish. Isabel Norian, she's via Zoom, and Anya Ufuglu. She'll be here in person. I'm sure she's much better at pronouncing her name than I am. All are welcome to attend in person or online. If you'd like to participate via Zoom, please email info@ovale.ie. Now, the pandemic had a major impact on lots of things over the last number of years. But probably the greatest disaster that came out of the pandemic was that we could not pass the glass for donations around the room. It remained static there under the horse's head. It is absolutely desperate to move. And it is absolutely desperate to be filled with coins and blank cheques and notes between now and the end of the night. So Damien has begun the process. We'll pass it around the night. If you have a few bob, we'd greatly appreciate it. Like every other arts organisation in the country, all types of funding are required. But if there's anybody here who's a councillor by any chance and knows anything about getting extra money from funding, we'd like to have a conversation with you. No, having said that, we have the Deputy Lord Mayor here. Councillor Dan Boyle is here. We're delighted to have you, Dan. We're not asking you to give us any money tonight. We're just asking you to promise us money tonight. So would you come up and say a few words?
That's fine, thank you. Thanks, Paul. And good evening, everyone. I was actually here 3 years ago, deputising for another Lord Mayor, and it's good to see that despite the coitus interruptus, that the occasion that is the gathering of Ovale and our guests from Coventry is large, a cultural event as it has always been. And my role in deputising for the Lord Mayor is first of all to welcome our visitors from Coventry and to acknowledge the particular relationship that Cork has with Coventry. It's the first city that Cork established a twin sister relationship with, and that was mainly for 2 reasons. One, because of a substantial Irish community in Coventry, and also a shared history in the construction of motor cars, which we don't do in Cork anymore, which is a green I'm not that disappointed about, but it's something that is a sign of changing times and changing relationships. I was given from the Lord Mayor's office a copy of this publication, Twin Skies, the poems from Cork and Coventry, and I was immediately struck by the cover of statues of Lady Godiva and Christy Ring, which is a juxtaposition in itself that's screaming out to be a poem. And maybe that might be a challenge for one of your future events. But it's also interesting in the sense that there are so many familiar names in the list of people who provided poems. Obviously, the Cork people would be known to me more, but even some of the Coventry names co-edited by Rafe Boylan, who was one of the people we had here 3 years ago. So I think that's testament itself to probably the most successful aspect that I've alluded to already of why there is a good connection between Cork and Coventry, particularly in a cultural field, and this particular event, this particular relationship encapsulates that. And the City Council would like to see that. However, it's funded, and wherever funding can be got it for it, to go from strength to strength, because its success needs to be celebrated and built upon and celebrated into the future. I have to admit to being something of a frustrated poet. In fact, it's worse than that. I'm a songwriter, and it's even worse than that because as an inadequate musician, I've rarely failed to match particular and strong melodies to the lyrics. So I have a collection of songs that might even scan better as poems if it wasn't for the bad melodies I put to most of them. But I think the best poetry is words and music in itself, and I think we've seen several examples of that this evening, and some not. But I think it's about the act of trying to marry that sibilance, that English teacher of mine used to point out all the time, the use of onomatopoeia, the use of color and tone, and when necessary, rhyming in terms of making poetry and having a rhythm to it that brings about the sense of words and music being together through the spoken word. And I, for one, appreciate how that's being done by the collection of people in this room tonight, how that's being done by O'Vale as an organization, and if it's possible for me to talk to people who make decisions about funding and how this can be celebrated better and to a greater extent into the future, I'd be very, very happy to do so. And I look forward to reading this particular collection and the 5 Words collection in greater depth, and welcoming some of our visitors to the Lord Mayor's Chambers tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thanks, Dan. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate the support you're giving us over the year, and we do appreciate the funding that's been forthcoming, and your offer of some more there. That we will. I mean, you did say if it's possible to speak to people about funding. Oh well, it's possible. Dan. It's possible. There's about 50 of them in the room. Paul's already making a date. Look. So now we go to our guest poets. Okay. So there was a debate about who would go first a little bit earlier on, and then I had to explain to them whoever goes first night goes second tomorrow night. So you don't need to fight about it, which was good news for John because he was going to lose. And so the first up this evening is Sujana Crawford. She's a multilingual poet, playwright, and researcher working in English, Nepali, and Hindu. Sujana's creative work is driven by a fascination with people, places, and folklore. We like her already. Her work has been featured in various magazines and anthologies, and plays have been developed in collaboration with BBC Radio 4, Birmingham Rep, and Warwick Arts Centres, among others. She has also featured on BBC Radio 3 The Verb, BBC Contains Strong Language Festival, we really like her now, and British Council's International Changemakers. In her day job, God, imagine a poet with a day job, Sujana works as a UX researcher, whatever that means, and has worked across the UK public sector helping research and design better IT services. Born in China, she was primarily raised in Nepal and currently lives in Warwickshire with a husband and 2 young children. Please give a massive pure Cork welcome to Sujana. Two drinks. She's done it before.
There's a reason.
We have 20 minutes. Is that okay height-wise?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. First of all, thank you for having me. And if I knew you were going to read my bio, I would have not written all of that. That was a bit, anyway. But yeah, thank you for having me. It's been lovely. It's been a lovely day. I arrived really early and we've been seeing the city, and we've got a really, really amazing city, and you've got a lot of talent. So this is lovely. The other thing I need to tell you is I've got 2 cups of hot water and I'm likely going to cough a lot. So bear with me and forgive me. With that, I'm going to start with a poem called Devi. And it means goddess. So where I'm from in Nepal, it's quite common to initiate something, to begin something with a nod to divinity. And in this poem, through this poem, I'd like to give a nod to the divine that resides in all of us. So Devi, there are gods in every corner. The only thing keeping us from evicting them is our belief that everything is still possible. At the bazaar, incessant entreats thrum under my feet. An eager hawker tells me how she stayed up all night, threading serpents of Saipatri to help me appease gods lurking in every corner. I do not haggle, ask for generous fistful of abhir and gesari. Last week, I spun my own cotton wicks, and today I choose the most ornate of puja thalis. On my way home, I hand out invitations to every god at every corner. As the day falls, I wash, drape myself in a derby-laced silk sari. I dance to the rhythm of my own hymns, take my time drawing aipan, trace a solid boundary around myself. The gods arrive at dusk, perform my arati. Later, the gullies are asleep. A snore escapes a window, a moan through another. I am led to the crossroads, where not all things can be fixed or forgotten. Can I just move this a little bit? That'd be okay. Yeah. Okay. I had sort of an order in mind, but then I was also going to adapt as we went along, depending on how we felt. And we've talked a lot about COVID, and the reason I still have this persisting cough is because of COVID. I got it about 4 weeks ago maybe, and it came here with me, like it was not invited. Honestly. So one thing over lockdown, what happened was I struggled to engage with the poetry community through Zoom. Like I just couldn't do it online. I was reading, I was writing where I could, but I was not sharing my work with, in public with community and things. And that's something I really missed. So it's lovely to be here in a pub in Cork and to be doing this. But one thing that I did do was play with languages, and I love that space between different languages. And because I speak multiple languages as well, but given where I live and who I live with and everything, English is more of the dominant language for me now. But has anybody heard of Grace Nichols, the poet Grace Nichols? So she is a poet from Guyana. She's lived in England for a long time, and she's quite highly regarded in, I can see John nodding, yes. So I was asked to translate one of her poems into Hindi last year. And it was probably one of the best work I did. Like for me, it was very satisfying creatively, because the poem I felt was something that would resonate to anybody anywhere in the world. and it talks of that communal experience we had during the pandemic. So I will read the poem in English first. That's her version, and then I'm going to read the Hindi translation. So the title is also a word we used earlier today, harbor. Harbor by Grace Nichols. When it's all over, and hopefully it will be over, I'll probably look back and miss this strange web of our togetherness, the impromptu areas at windows and balconies, the orchestra of pots and pans, and hands beating a metronome of gratitude to keep airborne the spirits of our nurses, doctors, all our caregivers, the live streaming of ballet dancers pirouetting trickily around their children. Now, like everyone else at home, all the WhatsApp calls and video links from friends and relatives, my daughter's faces surfacing on the small sky of my mobile. Yes, the virtual world can console, but watch how easily I'll trade it for the simple harbor of a hug. Right? That's why I loved it so much. So now this is the Hindi version. सहारा जब ये सब खत्म होगी और आशा है कि ये खत्म होगी, शायद मैं मुड़कर देखूंगी और याद आएगी मुझे ये हमारी अजीब एकता की जाल। खिड़कियों और बालकनियों में एकाएक गाए हुए गाने, बर्तनों की बैंड बाजा और तालियों से दिए गए कृतज्ञता ताकि रहे ऊंची मनोबल नर्सों, डॉक्टरों और सभी देखभाल करने वालों की। बच्चों की इर्द गिर्द घूमते हुए बैले डांसर्स की सीधा प्रसारण अब सबकी तरह अपने घर में रहे। वो व्हाट्सएप कॉल्स, दोस्तों और रिश्तेदारों ने भेजे हुए वीडियो लिंक्स, मेरी मोबाइल की छोटी सी आकाश में तैरती हुए मेरी बेटियों के चेहरे। हाँ, ये वर्चुअल संसार सांत्वना तो दे पाती है, पर तुम देखना कितनी आसानी से बदलती हूँ मैं अंगलीगन की छोटी सी सहारे के लिए। Thank you. Now, we're going to stick to the theme of the pandemic for a little bit more. And one thing the pandemic made me do, another thing the pandemic made me do was to really, really slow down. And I have 2 young kids, and especially in the UK, when they told us, leave the house once, do not drive, do not talk to anybody, here are your kids, they can't go to school. You've got to work though. It became a lot of the days became about ending the day, right? Like we need to survive this day, and then watch time pass, like kill time, like. And so one thing I did with the kids a lot, like most people, is just walk around in circles, like the same path over and over and over and over again. And my kids love picking blackberries, and we've done that, ever since they've been able to walk. But during the pandemic, I started noticing things that I hadn't before. And this is what the poem is about. And all I can say is blackberry picking is never going to be the same again. And you'll see why. The title of this poem is Duty. The blackberry bush is an empire of ants. Its colony sprawls the woodlands, spills into fields, a banquet of plump drupelets bathe in the sun, a summer party for the troops. Off duty, they scribble the bushes, ignore the lines my teachers told me they toe. Even then, I thought, I will not march. I will not be a prisoner of obligation. Uninvited but longing, I join them anyway. My mouth glutinous, my stained fingers plunder more than my chosen loot. By the time I notice, my body is a cantonment. The queen hovers over her tour, escorted by the drones of war machines, frozen in midair. My flailing arms do little to dissuade the growing squad. And then I stop, watch as the ergate's tiny claws tear through my clothes, my skin. It starts to rain. Defeated and bleeding, I turn my face to the sky, hold open my mouth, my throat a tunnel leading to a new colony. Is there an appetite for another translation? Or should we, yeah? Okay. So like I said, I was playing around with language a lot. So this is a poem again about the pandemic, and then I'll stop, I promise. It does get tedious, doesn't it? Like we go on and on about it. And this is a poem by one of my favorite writers, Jacqueline Safra. And every day she wrote a sonnet. So during the lockdown, she wrote a sonnet every day, and then it's come out in a book called 100 Sonnets of Lockdown, I think, or something in those lines. It was published by an anarchist press, which is run by Jane Cummane, who's come here before. Some of you might have met her. And the title of the poem is I Often Try to Write. And I'll read the English version first, and this translation is in Nepali. I often try to write. I often try to write about the coots and fail. Perhaps they have a message, but I'm just a visitor. The chicks are cute. The chicks were cute, but now they're squabbling, gangly, caught out by unexpected adolescence. Mum and dad still busy all the time, augmenting the nest, diving for weeds, guarding the brood. Is this activity profound? Maybe a test of my ability for metaphors? Apparently, it's rare for all to grow to adulthood. What with the swans, the drains, the heat, polluted water. I don't know how to help. Some days I stop and count. Sometimes I care. Sometimes I don't. And now the Nepali translation. म अक्सर लेख्न प्रयास गर्छु म अक्सर मरुलहरूको बारेमा लेख्न खोज्छु तर प्राय असफल हुन्छु सायद उनीहरूसँग कुनै सन्देश होला तर म केवल एक पाहुना न हुँ उनका चल्लाहरू निकै प्यारा थिए तर अहिले भने झगडालु र पातला छन् आमा र बा अझै सधैँ व्यस्त गुणलाई विस्तार गर्दै झारको लागि डुबुल्की मार्दै गृहस्थीको रक्षा गर्दै के यो गतिविधिको कुनै गहिरो अर्थ छ सायद मेरो उपमा लेख्न सक्ने क्षमताको परीक्षण हो कि भन्छन् कि चल्लाहरू वयस्कसम्म बिरलै पुग्छन् बाधा आउँछ अनेक रूपमा जस्तै राजहाँसहरू नालीहरू अत्याधिक तापक्रम प्रदूषित पानी मलाई थाहा छैन म कसरी मद्दत गर्न सक्छु म कहिलेकाहीँ रोकिन्छु र चल्लाहरू गन्छु कुनै दिन मलाई वास्ता लाग्छ अरू दिन मलाई मतलबै लाग्दैन Thank you. And with that, I promised I'd move on. So we're going to move on to an equally exciting topic, which is conflict. So like I said, I grew up in Nepal, and most of my adulthood, like late teens to my early 20s, no, more than that actually. So there was a civil war. So that was the backdrop to my life growing up. And it lasted for nearly 10 years. And this poem that I'm going to read to you now is something I wrote in 2004. And I remember it was inspired by an article in the newspaper, but also it was something that, I was quite young. I think it was in my early 20s or late teens at the time. And it's my reflection, and it's sort of my reflection on the conflict. And the title is Mascaras and Bracelets. Mascaras and bracelets. The mirror stand. Excuse me. The mirror stands still, mum yet reflecting. The necklace that's next, after the ring and the mascara. The dress is pretty just as you wanted. And the reflection, oh my, it's almost dashing. Yet somehow the hurt and agony tend to sneak out. Somehow. And the pain does show from behind the mascara and all of your show. Your smiles, they're fake, the talk, it's phony, those touches, they're gone. I can see it. I haven't been there, yet I see through your eyes the fire ablaze in your weeping heart. Losing your pet as a child was such a pain. You almost thought life had reached its end. And here you stand with your love gone and having lost your faith to the war, to the guns. And yet life shows no sign of ebbing. The war is to continue, for more are to lose bits of their hearts, part of their lives. For more are to lean on mascaras and necklaces. And agony always needs a place from where to sneak, somehow. Your love is gone, the war is on, so is the pain. But you'll survive. More lipstick, a new bracelet even, whatever it takes, you'll survive. Okay. That's gone quick, hasn't it? Okay, this is another conflict poem, and the title is The Boy I Could Have Married. We went to the same high school, the local one, only 7 minutes from mine and a little less from his. We hardly spoke, him and me. My family spoke well of him though, and the teachers well of him too. I was smitten, how could I not be, with a growing sense of being a woman, and he, such a perfect specimen. Life moved on. In the years between, our paths really crossed. People said I was always out with the fairies, so I let my wings, before they could be clipped, take me places where angels lived. He was more grounded, always was, so much gravitas packed in that one. Then word came that the boy I went to high school with had all but disappeared. My family spoke of his in hushed voices now. He's pretended not to know what all the whispering was about. The truth is, nobody really knew what to make of the 2 minutes news. The whens, the whats, the hows, the guns, the deaths, the blasts. In those days when, struggling about this or mourning about that, I reminded myself how the boy I went to high school with had gone underground, treading in strong boots, shouldering guns. He didn't believe in fairies and love. I did. He didn't sing and dance to pop songs. I still do. He was made of sterner stuff. He was out for a better cause. I fled. He stayed. He believed in making this world a better place. At high school, I often imagined marrying him. I could have, you know. We never spoke, but my family spoke well of his. Maybe then I too could have been a superhero. Alongside him, do the right thing, save the world. Then our paths crossed in the middle of the night, where I lay with my daughter's arm around me tight. I heard a bash before the glass strands hit the floor. And in he walked, flashing my face a shade too bright. He stared. And what I saw reflected in his eyes, I could tell he recognized. Maybe he was smitten too many years ago. For a moment, maybe two, pausing, staring at each other, scared and confused. Me worried for my daughter, him nostalgic maybe, more regretful. But it didn't last, and the moment passed, reminding him what he really was about. I think there was a little hesitation, but maybe it was just in my mind. The butt of his gun smashed into the sleepy face of mine, thankfully, not hers. I didn't dare let out a cry. I fell on the ground so very slowly. Just as I crashed, I heard a bullet strike. Where do we go from that, eh? Something short. So something short is a good one. Right, while swimming. So I have never been wild swimming, but I would like to go do wild swimming sometime. But I haven't been swimming for very long because I only learned to swim recently, as in like a few years ago. And I hate the cold. And being in the UK and not still being a very confident swimmer, I haven't managed to do that. But when I do go wild swimming, I think something like this will happen. While swimming, I dip a finger in, my body recoils. My finger insists the water is tepid. My body tells my finger, you know nothing. My finger is insulted. You are too sheltered, it claims. My body smirks, insists my finger try again, but my fingers are overworked, all that typing. And my body is exhausted, all that birthing. I wait. Neither body nor finger speak. I dip my toes in. Ah, it says, so refreshing. My body gives in. It's got no more fights left. Okay, I've got time for one short one. Can't leave you with a heavy one, can I? Okay, I'm just going to leave you with a very short one. But again, thank you very much for having me. Thank you for being such a lovely audience. Thank you to Paul for organizing this and making it so possible. Thank you for the support and hopefully future support for other people to come as well. And yeah, it's been lovely. So this is a very, very short poem. And this is what my life was a few years ago. And I don't know. It was a few years ago I wrote this. And the title is A Mother's Lament. Last summer, when after days of wet rain, the sun finally poked his head, my first thought was, what a shame it was that the washing basket stood empty. Such a waste. Thank you.
Thank you, Sujana. Thank you very, very much indeed. Now, my apologies for reading out your entire bio. I'm not sure what part of write a bio is not going to be read out. I don't know where that came from. But the good news is I can't make the same mistake with John, because John didn't write his bio. He got his missus to write it for him. And so you should never tell me that. No, I'm not. I'm going to be really honest. She has totally undersold it. John Bernard is a Coventry-based poet, rapper and writer who uses his artistry to inspire, influence and invigorate his listeners. He has featured on BBC. I said she undersold him, didn't I? He has featured on BBC Radio 3, Radio 5 Live, BBC Contained Strong Language Festival, yay, BBC One Extra, as well as performing regularly around the UK. John has distinctive delivery, a commanding voice. He's an intricate lyricist. His content is authentically raw and potent. He has undoubtedly carved a lane for himself, infusing spoken word poetry, alternative rap, and neo soul. Come on, John, let's have it.
Okay, that's perfect. I hope the poems are better than the bio, to be fair. Like, way. But literally, thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. Like for me personally, I put on my status today on Instagram, like poetry is my passport. So I come from like, by the way, hi Andrea and Ray for everyone from Coventry. Hope everyone's well. But yeah,
wave at the camera.
Sorry. That's for you. That's why. Yeah. But so I come from a part of Coventry which is pretty run down, and if I told like my school teachers like I'm here today doing poetry, they'll be like, right, you're lying to us. Like this is not real. You know what I mean? So it's an absolute pleasure, and it's so humbling on my part to be here. And yeah. So it's great. Cork's a beautiful city, 100%. I was looking for Nando's, but you guys didn't have a Nando's. Yeah. You do? Where is it?
Okay, you're going to have to leave.
Where's this? Okay, we'll talk about that afterwards. But yeah, we need to hit that Nando's. But yeah, so yeah, let's get to it. So the first poem I'm going to do is a poem called Dream Do Achieve.
And I wrote this in response to kind of looking back at where I've come from, area of growing up, and myself and my friends and what they're doing now. And just tracking back basically. So yeah. The only silver spoon we had was the one we stirred our cups of teas with. We wore untellable smiles proudly, for they preserved our household secrets. And if demons were just a figment of our indoctrination, then how do you explain the infestation of discord in regards to family relations? But home was always the safest. As one hug from mom would always convey, I was a favorite. My sibling disagrees, but I guess it's all a matter of interpretation. I grew up in a city of preserved monuments to community integration, where our social status was like mutual friend that connected us. A place where school teachers didn't know how much faith in us. In fact, no, tell a lie. There were remnant who were caring because I guess they understood that everything colossal used at a humble inception. And our gifts were meant to be the tunnel out of these trenches. And without sounding pretentious, I knew there was more than this concrete struggle. We just had to cement it, to live like we meant it, meaning with a purposeful drive to strive for perfection. I witnessed childhood friends get sentenced for serious offences. I wonder if that had been affirmed, would their struggle for acceptance? Weary tears leaked onto their mother's cheeks. See, we pay for our choices, and there are no receipts, just the hope and repentance. No accountability, just a lot of suggestions. It's no wonder why they're still carrying that burden of rejection. However, you see, pain, though distressful, is insightful. Despite all the tries to ensure what's in sight falls, grandma's prayers are still waging war, so we're praying for a better tomorrow for our firstborns and the ones to follow. That they may be more inclined to invest and splash on bottles. So that matter I'm always trying to press on is relatable role models. I'm trying to be the change that I craved through adolescence, because I know God forgives, but scars remain tangible enough to provoke our senses, so it's senseless to embark on a journey that needs neglecting. And most of the time, we're the one betting on our failure. It's not our fault, we just accommodate the mindsets of our areas. But understanding what's at stake, we stand for the next generation's sake, shaking off the stains left by these waste of space, so-called role models, rappers, role models, rappers that spat bullets indiscriminately, so we caught their strays. But how good it was to see my friends MGA and DDA proving that you can dream, do and achieve if you just apply some faith. I sat with Louis and I could brutally smell the fragrance of humility, but perceived the lion's hunger in his eyes that said, John, not to make it would be lunacy. He said, forget fame. I'm doing this so my family can leave the dreams to me. So let the tears fall and muscle ache and let them premeditate the scrutiny, but I refuse to let fool this potential be poured out for the youth to drink. So we can achieve the unachievable, regardless of past mistakes, because there can only be one you. So do not stop to emulate, because there are too many syndicates of mediocre lies, but so always speaking. Enjoy the open mind. So amplify clearly the desires that cease to decline, because most of the time what we're called to become is what consistently disturbs our minds. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Yeah, so for that one, so it's quite funny how kind of life takes its turns. So a lot of my friends that are from the circle that I grew up with and I grew up around, everyone went on to do different things. One of my friends ended up becoming a professional footballer. One of my friends ended up becoming a scout. I ended up doing poetry and music and all the lovely stuff that somebody wrote for me in that bio. But yeah, it's weird. But then looking at, the journey and, how things started off, especially from my personal journey, these are the things that I kind of wished and I wrote on my vision board when I was quite young. And I remember being in school and it was one of those weird situations where my music teacher, who was my tutor at that time, she kind of saw that I had a lot to offer, and she took the time to kind of to know my story and to know my journey. And not only did she do that, but she kind of helped me to understand who I was, and my sister as well. And this is why, and I was talking to you about it, and I was saying, words are so powerful, because I remember, leaving my house and my sister would just say, you know what, you're great. Just randomly, I was like, okay, somebody woke up on the good side of the bed today, and she'd be like, you're a leader, not a follower. And those, I know it's weird. Yeah, this is like 8 a.m. about to go to school, I'm like, forget about it. But then what happens is it's like she was sowing the seed. And then before I knew it, the lads might be doing something stupid. I'm gonna be like, you know what, I'm too smart for that. I don't need to do that. Without even me realizing, it's sunk into my subconscious. This next piece I'm going to do is called Perception, and kind of my journey through finding myself in that sense. They say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What do you behold when you're staring into the mirror? Are your eyes piercing past the superficial to the inner? You wondering if the glass would be greener, if your grass would be greener if you're thinner? Hourglass body, couple tats to make the frame look gully. I've understood only perception can make the rainy days look sunny. Who are you? Bet you don't answer that. Who am I? You know, what do you think of yourself? In fact, what do I think of myself? In my teenage years, I assumed I was beyond help. I struggled with depression and insecurities, and coming from a community that stigmatized mental health, I decided to take on the journey of someone else. But what did I expect? That losing mom and becoming part of the system will not intersect. The stability I once had and the calling I once knew, but let me interject. As I was typing, trying to put these thoughts in check, I wanted to go deeper and reflect. So I reflected. To that moment where I was staring at my own reflection, the blue lights were blind and penetrating through the blinds, the plight of injustice. Where was the justice, I questioned? Years on, I'm still hearing sirens. And justice is served as I'm staring at 3 magistrates, hoping they don't give me time in the pen. Because as much as I wanted uninterrupted time with my pen, I couldn't relent to the fact that if my sister saw me in this position again, she'd be mortified. With a person I had morphed into I, Imelda's son, now a national statistic engaged in the world of crime. My mother would have sat me down and said, hey, little light of mine, why are you deeming your shine? Remember your lineage. Your grandfather in his meekness became one of the first teachers in his village. Your privileged position was a vision he prayed about the nights he was speaking to Jesus. You see, son, the Lord will lead us past the storms that will try to deplete us, but you must see what I saw in you the first time I held you. Like I thought you would leave us. Son, you're a leader. So you can bob and weave to the deaf hear and the silent speak. So you better put your calling on speaker. Stop ignoring and start seeking. The truth is, Mom, I would have responded. I lost me when the police came and told us that we had lost you that evening. I felt like dying when the image of you shattered into pieces. I mean, I attempted a puzzle when the pain wasn't subtle, felt like my brain was in puddles and the memory of you was seeking in the deep end. So I started living for the weekend and rendered life cheap so I didn't care how my time was being spent. I locked my emotions and there was no replacement key to unlock them. I became accustomed to representing myself like a customer service rep with a smile as my mind was raging in tantrums. I concealed my anxieties in sex. I hid my insecurities in chasing notoriety to impress. So they won't press upon me the need to express. But I was found. Wounded like a deer left on the side of the road, but we're still here. The changes of gears as its perpetrator disappeared into the atmosphere. Breathing in lumps of cold, lonely air. Yet in prayer, hoping that if something beyond this realm existed, then it'll meet me here. They say beauty's in the eye of the beholder. What do you behold when you're staring into the mirror? Are your eyes piercing past the superficial to the inner? You wondering if the grass would be greener if you're thinner? Hourglass body, couple tats to make the frame look gully. I've learned to accept that sometimes it's only perception that can make a rainy day look sunny. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. So yeah, so that was that about the journey, and I remember I was speaking to. So I do a lot of youth work. I work with a lot of young people in my city. Do a lot of youth mentoring as well. And one thing that I kind of pushed them to talk about is their mental health. And I remember like growing up, like the conversation of mental health wasn't a thing. Like we'll never sit down and with the lads and talk about, you know what, guys, I don't really feel right today. Like this is where my mind's at. We never had those conversations, and I could see the trauma behind that. It's only later on you realize that, wow, like we should have spoke about this earlier on. And so when I work with the young people I work with today, I kind of push them to talk about the mental health, where they are, like what do they need help with, so it's an open conversation. And this next poem, a bit of a trigger warning, it's about suicide, and it's based on a true event that happened in Coventry. And it was one of those things where, this person hung themselves on the Canal Basin Bridge. And where the bridge is situated, it's like, it's a ring road where, all the cars go past in town. So it was a crazy moment. And I remember, like, you know, people just taking pictures and putting it on social media. And for me, that was like, what the hell's going on to our society today? Like, don't we just look at things and just kind of, you know, feel sorry and empathetic towards the person's family? Why do we have to go on social media for this? Like, for me, it hit really hard. And me and Sujana were talking about this today about, you know, we're so connected, yet sometimes we feel so lonely, you know, because of social media. We feel connected because we got all these followers, but then yet we feel so lonely because the connection might not be a real connection because it's the virtual world, it's not reality. So yeah, so this was called Canal Basin Blues. The borough gazes a barrage of paraphrased paragraphs alluded to this man's apparent fate. Facebook now accommodates his stillness. The realness captured by the 12 megapixel wide angle camera filtered instantly. Instagram, the land of instantaneous trickles of shares. Subscribing to the notion of being, but not being there. Bridges are symbolic. In communicating unity, perhaps you be unified with a euphoric like freedom. Heroes welcome. Fellow soldiers sipping on a bittersweet cup of nostalgia. Talking about how they were perceived and the reality that was beyond perception. Sleeves which hid 1,000 cuts, the customized smiles which consecrated social occasions. In a world where we only pay attention to social media reporters, I wonder what made you cross over. Were you a father to a loving daughter? A husband to a wife who tried but failed to relieve your burdened shoulders? A friend that you tell your deepest secrets to, who will never need to seek an excuse in not meeting you? A troubled soul, soul searching, so certain I had more to give, but life's cold coating had you gulping for breath like being alive inside a closed coffin. I didn't know you, but I see you often. Often enough, it makes me wonder if I'm dealing with pain properly. I'm alive by God's grace, so I gracefully pace, but in a midnight omelette as I go through life's worries and uncertainties. You made me contemplate the meaning of bridge as your body bridged the gap for all to see. That's not just dead bodies that need an autopsy. But there are things that are killing us daily inside. The area of pride is no surprise to its part in the increased rates of male suicide. And there are many factors that we could ascribe this sadness to, but in hope of a bluer sky, we will one day have an understanding of the intricacies of the human mind. But for now, we can utilize the image of you tied, eyes shut, like what companies are suit and tie, comprehending the costly nature of time. There's no such thing as a cheaper life. Every life is priceless. Perfectly packaged and unique passages, only what we offer our time to can purchase it. Yeah, they say this is a generation of Molly and Percocets, where actions aren't preceded by thought or consequence. But imagine the peril we're constantly having to war against. The tug of war for our souls is so immense. I implore with soul and sense, watching our minds closely, clothing ourselves in hope, hoping this is an entire depression we're not addressed. Yet we know sometimes the most attractive smiles are combating a crooked sadness that won't relent. I know it's okay not to be okay, but occasionally you wonder why you're no longer a stranger to this darkened place. And the world is a dark place, but it only radiates when we stick together. So if you're willing to rave with me, I hope you also be willing to pray for me. When my knees are buckling like I'm agency, you can be someone's agent of love. Or of hate, you see. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So yeah, so that was that. But yeah, it's a really, yeah, it's important to be there for one another. I mean, you spoke about the pandemic, and I'm not going to go through all COVID and stuff, but it is important to be there for one another, especially in the generation that we're in today. It's good to really connect, really good to talk to people, really good just to see how people are, really good just to call somebody just to say, hey, I've been thinking about you. How are you? You know, and don't take the first initial, like, yeah, I'm good. And that's it. Like, okay, keep the conversation going, man, because a lot of us do suffer in silence. And it takes that patience and that perseverance to help each other, you know. And I think that's what the world needs. The world, who sang that song? What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing now. Who sang that? I don't know. It just came to my head right now. I don't know why.
I think it was the New Secrets.
Who?
The New Secrets.
The New Secrets.
Secrets.
Oh, singers. Oh, Seekers. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Spotify. There you go. But yeah, no, definitely. For my final one, I'm just going to share a poem which I love to share because it's called "Aim for the Moon," and it's literally what I've wanted to do and what I've done since young. It's where I've tried to not aim for good grades, but just to aim for my dream, really and truly, you know, just seeing it and being here is like, it's like literally like my vision coming to pass, like being in Cork. I know it sounds weird, but it is. It's stuff that I've dreamt about, you know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing. So this one's called Aim for the Moon. One day we'll look back and wonder if we made each moment count. The opportunities that arose from the concrete ground we grabbed and held like the paramount gave us for the chippy. We were told that our social class would prevent us from making history, but we made it just in time for graduation day. We learned early that the expectations couldn't take our hard work away. More than reaching for perfect grades, we aimed for the moon and prayed that our uniforms would never be consumed by stab wounds, hoping the maze known as the estates will not lead us astray. If Venus and Serena can escape to the realm of the greats, then that gave us hope. Moonwalking on tree forest roads, speaking our futures into existence, I'm so glad we spoke. But why should we let them silence our souls when it's written in the finest of gold? Yes, hindsight can't minus our faults, so we've been aligned with our vision since knee-high, playing pirates and boats, using school jumpers as goalposts. If you know, then you know. We couldn't wage war over postcodes. Our city's always been too small for this. Plus, sis said, do not align with what your soul's against. Every thought has a consequence. It's better to be patient and powerful, only do stuff that you won't regret. Well, my city told me to say on my chest and raise up my brows. You can't purchase respect, you either earn it as a crown or you sit back down, that's reality. Searching for clarity, but Sam found his sanity not loud, but I wanted my mind clear so I could see the way out. Then lead a generation to manifest what they've been dreaming about. So I dressed in my truth, a fabric that can't be fabricated. Because when our goal will be no replacements, death doesn't care if we're literate or educated, Marvin Gaye, Ed Sheeran, or the singer that never made it. Our humble beginnings produce this imagination. In tribulation, with some patience and remained adjacent to what kept our heartbeat pacing. We've come too far to die nameless. Now the writings on the wall and on our pages. So soar, young eagle, soar. Roar, young lioness, roar. For the struggle will always conclude with a sensible summation. It was worth it. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, guys. John, everybody dreams about coming to Cork, by. Everybody. Okay. So, look, cultural exchanges are an amazing thing. We're so fortunate and well to be part of it. What an absolute pleasure to sit in a room and hear two people not just share their words and their art and their gifts, lads, and their gifts, but also their journeys and their experiences and their tough times and their good times. Fantastic stuff from both of you. I've got so many lines made, I'm not going to start wrapping them all off again. But can we just have one more massive round of applause? So, I've got two very quick things to say before we take a break. One, if you're ever going somewhere you need a bio, get your partner to write it. They're really fucking good at it. And the second thing is there's a little bit of a tradition. Not everybody who goes to Coventry or comes to Cork as a poet writes a poem about their experience, but some do. Rafe has one in this poem. Oh, Rafe, where are you? Great choices this year, by the way. Jane Stanton was one in here. I have one in here. You need to write a poem called Cork Doesn't Have a Nando's. See you in 10 minutes. Yeah. I have the open mic list here if you want to go on it. Just start writing your names down. We're going to take a 10-minute break. See you then, folks. Cheers. Good morning. Yeah. Pick a spot. Dan, thanks a million. Great to see you. I was the last time I met you was when you were sticking in for the Lord Mayor as well. When we had Coventry poets here as well. I met you. Talk to you soon. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Right, I leave you guys at it. Enjoy your morning.
I've been on and off for it. I was on and off for a super long time here. And that's when I started writing. I'm a fluid
Can I stick my name down if it's still floating?
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, it's going to be a long night.
Do you want to get in a little bit earlier?
Let's see. I'm a sleepy boy. But I think I'll be alright. I think
Give me a wave if you want to get on, and I'll just bump you up, okay?
I'm going to try and stay awake past 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I know the feeling. So let's go, Paul. Okay, guys, we're going to start the final section of the evening. Can I have your attention, please? Can I have your attention, please? We're going to start the final section of the evening, which is the open mic section. We have loads of people on the open mic. There's somebody outside there singing wants to be on the open mic as well, but we'll ignore them. So we're going to start the open mic on Zoom. So our first contributors to the open mic are both going to be on Zoom for very good reasons. The first of them is Alexandra. She's in Greece, and it's very late in Greece. So Alexandra wants to get herself to bed. So whenever you're ready there, Alexandra, you are on.
Okay, thank you. Can you see the slides going by? On the big
We
screen?
can.
Okay, great. Flying 11 from the Flying series. When all I have is Earth sun warming my horizons, sweet Psyche, tender wings fluttering anxiously, for it is the flight that matters, dragging my aging dreams, persevering in all kinds of weather, reaching heights of Icarus, heights of the supreme, each creation immortalizing mortality, keeping it alive, creations blowing everywhere, through my eyelashes, through the skies, flames and eyelashes becoming one, scorching our weaknesses, guiding lost souls. When all I have is a dandelion pappus to blow, seeds floating through the vortex to the cerulean ethers, for it is the flight that matters, chasing my windy wishes, releasing the nails of mental prisons, drifting breaths of nature, breaths of freedom, each ideal golden energy sent into pure light, ideals blowing everywhere, through my heart, through the skies, zephyr and heart becoming one, subduing the ego to service the higher good. When all I have is efflorescence blooming in my garden, a farmer of senses cultivating the fruit of the gods. For it is the flight that matters, picking my deciduous emotions, turquoise showers reviving withered hopes, chanting priestesses of protection, priestesses of safekeeping. Each inspiration soothing upheaval, melodious salvation. Inspirations blowing everywhere, through my mind, through the skies. Incantations in mind, becoming one, blessed with a power flowing divine energy. And all I have is paper and pencil for some simple words, creating poetry between invisible gods and visible mortals. For it is the flight that matters, rekindling my courageous verse, grateful in defeat and victory, dressing ideas in armor, ideas in silk, each vision a sacred icon in my pilgrimage. Visions blowing everywhere, through my spirit, through the skies. Matter and spirit becoming one, empowering our lives with universal fire. And all we have is the ray of a new dawn in a dewdrop, light triumphing, heralding a new beginning. For it is only the flight that matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. The musician is up by the GPO. He thinks he's playing the point depot with the volume, but we just have to deal with them all. We're going to stay on Zoom for the second one because Doc Janning, I'm not sure where he's located, but it's getting late there as well. So Doc, you're up when you're ready.
I am in Ohio in the US, so it's only about 5:30 here. Not in the morning. Dreams. In the synergy of afterglow, waves of dreams become gentle rains falling into a calm pool of love, creating ripples. It is the beginning of a sacred journey, a journey through the secret memories and joys of time. We dream in ineffable fractals and infinite moments of time, of space and shapes, known and unknown, of life's lotus in infinite variation, of love in all its joys and sorrows. And our dreams are woven on moons of fate and distilled in the alembic of eternity. Then, kissed by the fires of time and resonating voice of the multiverse, become us. Have I time for another?
Thanks, Doc, and thanks for joining us from Ohio. We appreciate you being here. So we're going to come into the room and we're going to start with Jason J. Fisher. You want the list?
So yeah, my name is Jason J. Fisher. I had a blast from my past that did not sit well with me, so I've got an angry poem called Death Sticks. So we'll see how we get on. I can only be boisterous, so I'm gonna try to drown with these guys. All right. I don't know about fortune or glory. What's most important for me, memento mori. My life can be a suspenseful story or full of events which bore me. And I know I gotta let go of those death sticks. But this flow is so deft and electric, and I guess I hope to live life the best I can, taking note of the best bits. I push cancerous thoughts down from my mind further down the line, because I'm covered in soot and grime. hoping the tumor they find in 25 years' time is benign. And people ask, man, why are you so goddamn strident? You don't understand the devastation of the evisceration. It's because I laid in a stagnant pit of stagnation for 6 years and I almost died inside it. Somehow I survived it, and the jury is still out if that escape route was divinely or self-guided. Now that bright white light is sparking, arcing, invading the cracks, the crevices, the current residents of the humming dark things. Don't you hear the melody they're strumming upon each and every one of my heartstrings? And remember, you're never a dusty, done, dumb thing, but rather forever in the process of becoming someone, something. And I'm steadily sketching out a meticulous list of what to do while I'm alive. I keep it fluid inside until the solid conclusion arrives. I'll do my best not to let death ruin the vibe. I'll do my best not to let death ruin the night. And I keep my eyesight tied tight to the blue and the white. And death died, but I resurrected him just right. So we continue to tussle and fight with muscle and might. And he'll win at the end of the day. But today, I get to say, I'm living my life fully and completely. For I fear we're here but once and ever so briefly. And I get to begin again, and I get to begin to live again, and I get to begin to win again, and I get to begin again. My name is Jason J. Fisher. My Instagram is words by JJF. Write that down. Thank you very much.
Nice bit of advertising at the end, Jay. Well done, my friend. Whatever you do, don't be fucking shy about what you do. So next up, and here we go now, I've got like that pronunciation, is it? Yeah. Is it Eilish? Oh wow, Eilish Byrne. Now, what's your Instagram page, Eilish? Tell them.
You wouldn't be able to spell it.
Never known pronounce it.
If you want my Instagram, you can ask me. Hi, my name is Eilish. This is my first open mic night. I'm going to give just a trigger warning for this one, so it's an essay trigger warning. And this poem is called Finish Your Fucking Sentence. I remember rainbow-shaped stretch marks across your lower back, your skin the inside of a flower petal to touch, a boyish face, clean-shaven, absent of a beard you couldn't yet grow. I remember the moment. I was lying there, prone, naked and pale, flesh stretched over bone, breathing on your single bed in your family home. Just breathing. Not a sound, not a word. There you were, at the foot of my throne. You sat up casually, put yourself in me like a probe. A battering ram right through my front door. Horror enveloped me like a damp, dark cloak. What the fuck? Get out of me. You crawled up beside me then. I'm sorry, are you okay? As if you'd tripped. I don't know, was all I could say. Then I looked over at you, sniveling. Crocodile tears in full flow. You began frantically repeating, I'm so sorry, you know I would never. Over and over, I'm so sorry, you know I would never. Never what? Violate me in your mother's home. Treat my body like an object as if it's something you own, as if it's just meat, sinew and bone, instead of a sacred mighty home, a temple for the soul you claimed to love. You were my bomb shelter. My respite, my cabin in the woods away from it all, but you were also the bomb, the burnout, the killer, stalking through trees, stabbed me with a knife and began to cry and plead as if it wasn't you who made me bleed and bleed and bleed. I'm the villain now.
for texting you, for wanting to speak to you about the sentence you never finished, wanting to speak to you about every time you put yourself or your fingers in me like a pickpocket, thieving me of dignity. I can't do this. Your response. You called me unfair for wanting to dig up the grave. You even had the audacity to say, I wouldn't do this to you. Why? Because it's impossible to hold me accountable for your own abuse. I'll dig up the corpse of your wrongdoings, let it rot in the light of day, call it art, and say whatever the fuck I want to say.
Thank you.
That was a rather fabulous debut, wasn't it? Thank you, Alicia, and well done, my love. Well done. Now, from here on in, if you don't have an Instagram page details, you're not coming to the mic. Forget about it. It's a new fucking rule. I've just made it up. I will throw you out the window. I will defenestrate you if you don't share your fucking social media details with us. And the first person to have to deal with that pressure is Cathal O'Brien Regan.
So I do happen to have a social media, Instagram. Look up the Clarkonian Alchemist.
There you go.
So this poem is, well, last week I had a unfortunate circumstance for thinking there was multiple poems to be said, but we quickly got over that. So this poem is called Masked Possibilities. Heavy lies the head that wears the crown, yet crown with no throne is insanity. So where's the line to save us from the calamity? It's sad to see, because what separates wise men from old crones? Its appearance. We are a coin. Better yet, we are an enigma. Because no two people are the same in their responses, for a map is needed to traverse the conversative expanses, a North Star with leading compass in all the works, a captain at the helm so he can send on red alerts. Yet those are born with captain scorn and map is torn and blurred. Clouds obscure Polaris and old equipment worn in Ferris, but no. Go ahead. Keep calling them oddballs or freaks. Asking, are you simple to those who have little to speak? Because if they talk about a subject they like, it will have no relevance. Those sentences fall on ears that already deafen them. They say our likes are not what interests them. The reason why Ganesha has an elephant head upon his person is not what normal people care for, and that's for certain. So we let the conversation move to topics we've no passion for around normal people, and move to the back rooms, back doors that we retreat through. Because through a mask, all things are possible. We can be something that is not us, and people will agree that we are suitable. We are accepted. We have a right to have company, but in our hearts we know that the one we are is not the one they're comforting. Masks are incredible, indelible for life's machinations, for imagination shot. Why would one want a grand and utterly madcap sensation of the tiniest little detail and hold its wonder when we already made an explanation? Here's your box now, fit in, is what has been forced upon us. Follow the set structure of dialogue and responses. The you are is not accepted, for you do not conform like us, for you do not perform like us. You do not fit into this form like us, so you do not deserve concern like us. Ideals are ideal, and humans are, well, human. And that should be okay, and yet we force ideal on others, expecting others to hold those ideals the same way. Our speciousness is all the same. they claim that their ideas are worth more, but it's worth more to them, and that's what makes us soar. No two people are the same in their responses, for each of us have a different experience, and those are what shape us. And to mold others differently is to show them we are delirious.
Big thank you to the Corkonian Alchemist. The competition for best Instagram name has probably been closed, but we'll see how Ray Hanrahan gets on.
Alright. Well, if anybody wants my social media details, I have a Twitter account. It's called Hanra Anarchist.
Maybe the competition isn't closed.
Okay, this is a poem I only saw today. I was looking for one to read for tonight. It was one I wrote actually when I was really, really bloody depressed back about 7 years ago after I came out from mental hospital. And I suppose distance is great. It makes you relate with stuff in that I can actually bear to read the goddamn thing out now. It's called It Is Difficult. It is difficult to dream when reality blows you down and tramples on your former dreams. My inner sky pilot has crashed and left me battered in the sad parody of what I once was. Maybe I should take the tablets and hang on in there. Life has little joy, but death is still as frightening as ever.
I'm not going to attempt to repeat that Twitter handle, but thanks, Ray, and I'm good to know you're in a much better place than you were when you wrote that poem. We're going to jump on to Zoom now, and we're going to have Michelle as our next contributor to the open mic. I look that way, Michelle.
Hello. Hi. Hi, everyone.
Just say that Michelle does have a second name, but she's a rock star, so she doesn't use it.
Hi, everyone. I'm loving your poems. I really wanted to be there with you tonight, but I threw out my back yesterday, showing off as usual, and that's probably how most accidents happen, but I'll be grand. I want to really cheekily fit in a very quick plug before I read you a poem, and that's that there is 1 week left to submit for, if you want to submit any content at all, to a once-off newspaper, a free public newspaper publication that's going out on Culture Night. So 1 week, if you want to put in something, send it to corksubmissions@gmail.com. I don't have a fun Instagram handle for that, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna read it, get onto the poem there now. It's called Parking on Beaches. Hey Siri, he says from the back seat, to his phone in the boot of the hatchback. From the dash, she lights up listening. Then the drums come out from the doors. His fingers leave the car and go to another place. I'm the 5th passenger who took to the floor. Inches over the hot and insect busy ground of Grandia Strand. Out the keyhole over knees, apartments, blush, tan and sand and other make-up names. For fun, I daydream their plans as the driver halts at a space too small. We move and I multiply till I lose count and patience. The Pantone blue keeps interrupting, blocks canonize as we exhaust the strip. Only for the delicate strung out, I forget they were for living. Only for the wild spinning spokes of bicycles hung too high, and only for the pinstripe shades, heavy with beach dust, not yet caught up with the family wash. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, Michelle. You might pop the details of that submission into the chat box there, and I'll give it another shout before we finish up, if you wouldn't mind. Thanks, Michelle. And we're going to come back into the room for Fintan Denis.
reveal it at the end.
Oh.
Suspense, because it's a tough game with these handles. Okay. Somebody is trying to find some common ground with you and asks, so where do you come from? Next time they ask you that question, reply with the soil. And they say, what, your soil or my soil or? Say, no, nobody's soil, because the soil is everybody's soil. It's what we really come from, what we really live off, and where we ultimately return to. For the earthworm has no preference over what's mine or yours, no preference over who you are or what you do or where you come from, no preference, because the earthworm will eat us up just the same. Somebody is trying to find some common ground with you and they ask, so what makes you you then? Next time they ask you that question, reply with, John, you might help me out. The soil. John's on it. John's on it. And you can say that my body is made of more microorganisms than it is the total sum of my parents' genetics. So I am more soil body than I am mum and dad. And guess what? That's what makes you, you, and everyone soil body too. Somebody is trying to find some common ground with you, and they ask, do you believe in magic? I don't know why I've adopted this court persona, but I'm here. Ask them to contemplate just a teaspoon of soil. Say that this teaspoon contains more living organisms than there are people on this planet. That in this teaspoon contains the wellspring of 87% of life on this planet. That in this teaspoon is the largest living system in the known universe. So you can reply next time they ask that with, but magic isn't even a belief, because the soil is
magic.
It's magic. It's trying to jump the gun. Somebody is trying to find some common ground with you, and they say, you know, we live in tricky times. What's going to get us first, you know? Is it going to be another pandemic, a war, a rise of AI, the continuous degradation of the soil, which at the rate it's going could mean 40% less global food production in as little as 20 years' time, and in 20 years' time there will be 9.2 billion people on it. So that means that we're in for it. No matter where you are in the world, rich or poor, nobody is truly secure without food security. And someone trying to find some common ground with you, they reply to that, well, that's still kind of tomorrow's problem, right? Say that 52% of the world's soil is already degraded, and that next time you eat an orange, consider that it takes 8 more oranges for you to get the same nutritional value as it did for your grandfather to eat just 1. And then they say, well, there's still the vitobiotics and so on, isn't there? So guess where those come from too? Someone, yes, someone is trying to find some common ground with you, and they say, well, that's a bit of a downer, isn't it? Is there any hope? So yes, there is hope in the Save Soil movement, which is a single-pointed initiative to restore the world's soils to health, because if the soils can be restored to health, not only can future generations be fed, but the miracle of restored soil means that it can actually reverse climate change. Someone is trying to find some common ground with you, and they ask, what can I do? Just spread the word. Just raise soil consciousness and get it into the climate change conversation, because this is a very big challenge that we face. Somebody is trying to find some common ground with you, and you might say to them, in the 16th century, Leonardo da Vinci said that we know more about celestial bodies than we do about the magic underneath our feet. So it is time to respect this magic, because this magic is our true common ground. We're here. Oh, but thank you for such a wonderful night. SaveSoil.org is the website. Thank you.
Thanks, Vincent. I'm assuming SaveSoil.org is not your Twitter handle, but it'll do. Yeah. It would be great if teachers actually taught you about things like that. Do you know what I mean? Through phone. Mind you, you were caught out. That was like your teacher when he asked you the question. He won't go there. He won't. We've already done the stop stand, please. Next up, we have Daniel Scholl. High enough?
Yeah, that's good. So if I could indulge you with a prelude before I read this. I've recently, in the past couple months, started submitting my poems in a masochistic request for rejection. But over the weekend, I got the results that this poem that I'm about to read was accepted. So bravo to me. Upon getting that email, I read it again and I said, that's not as good as it could be. So I've edited it and I'm going to read that now. So this is Rabbits, edited. We tell the story again, like George to Lenny, one last time, one more time. We found our little piece of land nestled between these bricks atop this tiny hill that's tall enough for us, above the fort and city views that we walk through day after day, hand in hand, growing through the scenes that seem familiar now, noticing the nuance in the new, wisdom in the old, as the dots connect, as the universe expands. I'll be careful this time as I hold you close, and you tell me again about the rabbits. Thanks.
And there you have a lesson in the human condition. I'm going to submit poems in the hope that I'll be accepted and feel good about myself. Oh shit, there's a poem been accepted. You know what? I'll fucking change it. Now, next up is a lady who has another novel coming out on the 3rd of September, Patricia Watch.
By the way, my Twitter handle is Euronymous. If you want to know how that spell come up to me afterwards. It's called merchandise. Taking what isn't yours, at least being covered, rewriting scripture to a comfortably, a certain blowhole unsettles the matters. Boiling heads to good effect, forgetting the stymie, riseful reckoning catapulted to a personal space. The basic sugar bombs over a central diet. The comfort sketch runs through the decimation. Measure through employment, a lack thereof. Feeding information naturally to the hearsay. Going into the funeral, the worse for assistance. Reading like a barricade, the better to shrink. Speaking the verboten, the disappointed with stopgap. Not rubbish enough to show the condition. Enough to sink associates in the fair fathering sunrise. The burning rain blurring like a cowcutter's hint. Ship up, for you tread my dreams awakened, faltering to the earliest fashion gone away. The blind-sided future conveyed for possession, discarding a measured taste, failing much better. Piecemeal dislikes ramp up the soft erosion. This incremental loss betrays the taking part, purchasing the stopgap of another shipwrecked god. Stopgap mercy at the hand of the shop teller. Banking on holidays none too severe for sound. Awarded a complexion that none shall demand. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Sorry for the distraction there. We've gone on to Zoom. We've just had we've got another man who's looking to move on because it's getting late in whatever part of the world he's in, which I'm sure he'll tell us about. General Listimio, I don't know, I'm gone there now. We've got somebody on the list called Massimo, and then we have this one, which is Generalissimo. So Generalissimo, you're next. Brian.
Process. Thank you very much. I live in Maine in the United States. I do have an event to get to within an hour, so I'm gonna just read a couple things. I just had it here. I think this was it. Okay. The first is called Fight of the Bumblebee. Bzzz. Hey, hey, Bumblebee. What you doing buzzing around me? I didn't ask for your bite or your sting. Please fly away and leave me be. Bzzz. Wait, what's that buzzing I hear? I think it's that bumblebee flying around my ear. I told him to leave me alone. Maybe I should swat him, then he'll be dead and gone. Yes, he's driving me so bonkers, I'm about to fall off my rocker. But hold on, God made him just like he made me. I guess that bumblebee don't mean any harm. He's one little guy, not a whole swarm. I think I'll let him land on my arm. So I hold up my arm and begin to walk. Next thing I know, that bumblebee begins to talk. You human beings, I don't understand your kind. You think us bumblebees just fly around and buzz, buzz, buzz. Your narrow minds just ruffle my fuzz. Hey, hey, bumblebee, what you doing buzzing around me? What right do you have cutting me my own down? He just says us bumblebees got minds of our own. We do so much more than buzzing and flying around. Then he flew away, speeding through the air, and it didn't take long to forget he was there. And now, 5 haikus about tomatoes. 1, biting into a juicy homegrown tomato can be quite messy. 2, the green tomato who got fried before it was ripe was delicious. 3, gazpacho with green zebra tomatoes is soup that is best served cold. 4, Mary, Queen of Scots, ate a bloody tomato, then drank some vodka. And finally, 5, a jalapeno asked a tomato to dance, and salsa was born. I just want to say that I do have a book. I do have a book for sale, and I'll put some events that I'm having in the chat, as well as the book, how to buy my book. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy your sleep. Next up, we're back in the room for Margaret O'Regan.
Oh no!
That was Brian, I take it. Thanks, Dan. Yeah.
Oh, you recognize his voice.
Just to put in a plug as well for Slutty Virgin, it's on. Sue and I are going to be taking part in it, and it's on the 27th and 28th of this month. So anyone, and also it's online if anyone, or it's like on Facebook, if anyone wants to book tickets or anything. This particular poem that I'm going to read was actually written by my daughter, Hilary Sheehan. It's very short, and I'll read another one as well of my own, but this one is called Blob by Hilary Sheehan. The inhabiting black blob makes heart throb. Boom, boom, boom. We are marooned in an island of flesh and bone. No more. Expanding, contracting, enacting sweats, attracting bets of ones or zero. Zero sum game this life. That's it. And another short one, seeing as we have Doc Jennings, this particular poem I wrote, and I spent a whole week studying the brain and what happens at a certain point. And I ran it by Doc Jennings at his Hour Nights session during COVID, during the lockdowns. And he said it's because he's a medical person, of course. He said it was correct, everything that I had written, because I was afraid that I had got it wrong. So it's called Love Undiluted, and it's an acrostic poem. So that is what's written down the left-hand side as well. So love undiluted. Love when it embeds, when it embodies, or to be known, or to notice, velvet-like softness, enveloping the mind and heart. Under the skin, under the rim, naked desire, seething within, dreamily sending high voltage signals in sparks and synapses, connecting, lustily fusing, cylinders firing, undulating, free-floating filaments, terminal throbbing, primed and longing, excitedly rushing towards neurotransmission, dripping, gushing in rapid release.
So I'm just going to say, the slutty virgin is online. I fucking love it. I love it. So next up we have Sego.
So I apologize in advance because apart from Cedric, if you don't speak French, you won't understand it. But I was about to take you on a journey because I love walking by night, and there's a text that I wrote when I was studying, but it's way too long and it's way too late for me. So it's a poem, and that night I was taking a bath at home and I dreamt that I was a mermaid. So this is about a mermaid. Il y a une sirène dans ma baignoire. Je l'ai vue ce soir par inadvertance. Ses cheveux flottaient comme des algues noires. Je crois qu'elle ignore bien sa chance. Il y a une sirène dans ma baignoire. Elle pense passer inaperçue dans le calme qui suit le soir, loin des lumières de la rue. Il y a une sirène dans ma baignoire. Vous devez sûrement la connaître. Celle à qui vous offrez à boire, celle qui n'est pas qui elle dit être. Il y a une sirène dans ma baignoire. Elle rêve aux éléments lointains, où les mouettes bâtissent des nichoirs en oubliant les lendemains. Il y a une sirène dans ma baignoire. On pourrait croire qu'elle se repose, avant de repartir sans gloire sous les cieux à jamais grandioses. Il y a une sirène dans ma baignoire. Je vois sa nageoire enchanteresse, dépassée de cet écumoire, lieu d'abandon et de paresse. La sirène de ma baignoire me nargue quand le noir s'allume. Elle m'a fait perdre la mémoire, mes souvenirs loin dans la brume. La sirène de ma baignoire sait très bien pourquoi elle m'agace, mais les jours filent dans ce manoir sans qu'enfin jamais je la chasse. La sirène de ma baignoire garde la clé de grands mystères, au fond de son plus vieux grimoire, les légendes de notre terre. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sego. Sego said to me when I was putting the open mic list together, is it okay if I read in French? Like granite boulders would say that's okay. Do you know what I mean? Thank you so much. Philip Spillane is next.
Very short.
He's got a very short song. He wants to know, is that okay?
You Instagrammers, okay?
Give me the seat.
And I'm
You have to come over this way, Philip, because I can't move the mic stand.
That's okay.
This is Philip Spillane with a very small, short song for those of you Instagrammers who are okay with it.
Thank you. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
It's called Magic Fungi. Yeah, it's about growing old, not about magic mushrooms. Remember me as magic fungi, not as an old forlorn
I will dance in circles like magic fungi, not stay all still like a dash tree. I will speak in poetry like magic fungi, not speak all strange like an ostrich. I know I'm not really magic fungi. I know I am really a fallen ostrich. But in me I feel grows magic fungi, even though on the outside I'm a fallen ostrich. Fungi, ostrich, fungi, ostrich, fungi, ostrich, I'm a fungi. Thanks so much.
No, we can all do it. We can all do a little bit of magic fungi every now and then. Never say no to that stuff. Massimo, on Zoom, you're up next. I keep looking that way when I should be looking that way. Massimo, you're up next.
Hey, can you see me and hear me okay? All right, wonderful. Thank you. Always an honor to be here. Always an honor to be here. So just for a moment, come back to the stillness, back to the absence that fills us. Pour out with love you're distilled with, the source of our realness that shows us what real is. No matter how real what I feel is, I just let it be there and stay here where here is. The mindless, the eyeless, the earless that mirrors that spirit we see with and hear with. But for now, no spirits, just spirit. As I reappear through the wilderness, find my heart, ask how it really is, and then let it beat back. That's where the healing is. I unseal my eyelids and shine where the movie real wheel of the mind is. I try to reveal through its seal of disguises and open its presence and yield its surprises. Can I remember the times when I never knew never and now was forever? Can I remember the pleasure, the pain, whether worse or for better, whatever? Just feel where it's tender. Find peace, no need to piece it together. The stitch in your fabric is perfect no matter if the work in your pattern is patched or irregular. It's like we're running and running through forests of nothing till suddenly we see that we are the something. Hunting for love when the truth keeps us stumbling till we see that we are the truth for uncovering. Maybe the cycle we're stuck in is that to be loved, we must learn to be loving. We're probably here for discovering something we already knew without uttering, whether blossoming, blooming, or budding. Even the process of withering plants us a seed yet unseen of life soon to be coming to be by becoming. Something to see that's so humbling. It's like the further expanding, the more understanding what once was so troubling, suddenly comforting. A puzzle so perfectly puzzling, but back through the wilderness. Only this time it's no longer wilderness. Open fields where there's no innocence lost, leads to inner children still in us. Fantasy scatters like glitter while sweetening matter like sugar in batter. Reality gathers our dreams, giving backbone to truth like the rungs on a ladder. With thoughts that outweigh us till we see they're weightless, just waving the waves of our energy's waviness. displayed through this body we're framed in like memory membrane with mazes to graze in, while meanwhile the soul plays the role of sojourner, the silent worker and wakeful observer, or even the dreamer, the yawner, the yearner, the counter of sheep and the half-asleep herder. But back to the path before we stray any further. Yet even in straying, we find we are further. But still, in staying, I find I am surer if maybe this love is a cause there's no cure for. So follow your heart. If not out of wisdom, then love is a start. As parts of a whole, we're just playing our part. But still being true to yourself is an art. Thank you all so much. Peace.
Thank you, Massimo. Being true to yourself is indeed an art. Now, the next person who's going to be true to themselves and to be artful while they're doing it, as soon as I can find where I am on this list, will be Cedric.
Her bed at low tide. I worked on your skin with my wooden hands, rolling up in a light, floating motion, up to the fun parts, and you let me. My timing and your mood were just right. I did not know where to go, but your curves gave me a sense of direction until I reached those bushes that you secretly grow. I stopped and raised my head above the tall grass to watch the setting sun caress your smooth surface, only to see the life on it animate the celestial light. You were beautiful and shallow, and I loved you for it. I wish we could play more together, but my wet feet grew cold as the night came. I went home when I knew I could not commit any further. For my social media account, well, it's tied to my offshore account, though. It's a safe harbor. You can drop your currencies. You can call me your guardian angel or gargoyle. It's fine. And send it to me. Let the seagulls love.
Thanks, Cedric. Whatever else happens tonight, do not share your offshore account details with us. We don't want to know. No. Some people just don't have second names. They just refuse to write down second names. Fionn?
Hi everybody, I've gotten used to being the only Fionn. I'm 41 now and I've never had any Fionns when I was growing up, but when I'm near playgrounds now, I always hear Fionn, Fionn, Fionn. So, yeah, well, next to Fionn Rogan is my full name. It's not a... Fionn Rogan. Not the singer Fionn Regan. So I've been on Zoom once before, but I haven't been on the mic out here before in front of everybody, so it's a nice feeling. And this poem I wrote after doing a poetry workshop about, the topic was everyday miracles, and we were reading a poem about onions. And I went to the toilet and I was looking at the tiles and I thought, grout. So here's a grout poem. When most people hear the word grout, they run a mile. Yet it sees us every day when we're naked in the shower and never passes judgment. It doesn't pass comment when we make another chicken curry, using every pot in the kitchen, splashing stains left, right, and center. Grout is honest. It knows what happens in the bathroom when there's no one around. Blood, sweat, dirt, tears, all these it accepts. It doesn't offer unsolicited advice. It doesn't mind if we don't floss, leave the light on, forget to flush, leave the toilet seat up. Even hippies like the grout between their tiles to be in perfect straight lines. Not everyone sees the labor required to keep it clean. Entire families can be born, raised, retired and deceased under its sign. When the end comes, it stoically drinks the grout remover, hemlock. Thank you.
That was rather brilliant, Phil. Thank you so much. I never thought I'd ever be sitting in a room and hearing a poem read about grout, but sure, I suppose there's been poems written about worse things than grout. Thank you very much. So next, I'm moving because I have two lists here and I'm jumping from one to the other. Oh yeah, Danielle O'Sullivan.
This is a poem called Above and Beyond. Ever since I could imagine she was my idea of heaven, I knew when she is near, for that's when lights appear. I've often wondered how, but I know now, the shine through the cloud signals her arrival loud. Her presence is the world, controlled by this girl. She makes the stars blink with just one wink. Yes, she is an angel, and yes, she saved me with a Pringle. A higher power descended when all is ended.
Right, I think the line of the night is she saved me with a Pringle, like fucking hell. Try and beat that. Try and beat, she saved me with a Pringle. Take that to bed and dream about it. Now, we're going to Sierra Leone, although I've been told since that Swango is actually from Zimbabwe. So, are you there, my friend?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much. Greetings, everyone. The name is Pongo, also known as the Honorable Metaphor. As some say, my metaphors are so honorable, they deserve a seat in the parliament. Please do not tell the government, man. If you want my details, you can find them. There's a website there. You'll find my social media from there. So I'm gonna read and recite two poems from my debut book, which unfortunately the hard copies are not available on Amazon, but you can get it on Kindle as an ebook. So the first poem I'm gonna read, let's see. I'll read Dreamer, the first poem in the book. Why should I do it now if I can do it later? That's what I told myself. Distant plans seem safer. Claiming perfectionism, intricate details are fascinating. To realize it's a cover for fearful procrastination. Promising tarred roads for years in a destination. Walk the talk to find your destination, but you can't do that whilst allowing too much hesitation. Talk is cheap. It's not enough to manifest a vision. Dreaming big, but spending hours on television. I was on a joystick control, but yet out of control. Then later got consoled for ditching study over a gaming console. With the little time I've used on my dealings, I have been making a killing, yet if I put more work into this, I'll be sticking to the ceiling. I'm willing, I'm tired too, and you know the feeling, and if I did it better, it would come with a healing and extinguish the hell in my conscience. Waking up a few minutes before the sun. I just want to be better. I do this for my son, my mother, my family. I am making a plan, no more glorifying comfort until I am done. Completing tasks as a therapy session. I need a recharge through literary meditation. I heal my buckles by reading the wisdom of Wallace D. Wackles. That was Dreamer. The next poem, I took time to memorize. Yeah, and I'm hoping you can hear me quite well because of the network issues we have this summer. Anyway, that's a story for another day. This is titled "The Rain Dance." It's about a a tradition, a ritual they used to do in times of drought in Zimbabwe, not in Zimbabwe in general, but in my village in particular, where people go out and ask for the rain from the gods. So inspired by that, I wrote this poem. We all sat around the fireplaces, the tongues of the fire seemingly taunting our hungry-looking faces. We had not left the room, no, none had the nerve, not until the ritual was over. We sat on the floor, cross-legged, frozen, waiting for the first droplet. The ground smelled of thirsty spring had come and gone, but even the trees that hung onto their leaves were grieved to hear them fall to the ground, raising tons of dust that hung above our heads like a friendly ghost come to boast. The rhythm of life got sing to the cries of the bleeding goats. We had drank their blood and ate the flesh of their kin in an effort to keep soul glued to skin. The people were quiet, but each whispered in their minds the truth unspeakable. The cross steeple that stood atop the cathedral, seemingly violating the sky, rendered her barren. Gone are the days of the rain dance when the rainmaker through the orifices of the hot springs in Binga disappeared for 7 days and came back with basket loads of harvest maize to tell of a bumper harvest, a gift from the gods of the land. If he came with his hands empty like politicians' promise of food security, the tribe knew that the drums had to beat for the people to clap and the gods to dance until the earth cried tears of rain. We were one with the land, more so gods of the rain. So I pray thee tell which goes to this serve that let you starve. No blasphemy. Let's have that nonsense. Let's have none of that nonsense for the starving child whose father works the fields but the rains unfold, whose mother gathers the wood but the cat sleeps on the head, whose stomach grumbles the Lord's prayer but all the Lords are deaf. Her shoulders never carry the unpleasant weight of a scarf tin as she goes to school. She bends but no resting droplet her throat to cool. So she learns at school that the globe is getting warm. That Mother Earth never speaks, but she whispers silent cries every time a car turns it to a passive smoker, taking it to cloud 9. But do you know what smoke does to lungs? It will create a hole so big the sun will escape the hands of time and burn us all alive. No rain to cool us down, let alone irrigate the Garden of Eden, long lost to the hands of men. Spongo, the honorable metaphor of peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We should always celebrate our cultural differences. We'll fucking tell you now, if it rains here tomorrow, he's fucking dead. We're staying online. A 5-word challenge winner, Moira, is next.
Right, I wrote this poem a while ago following an article that I read on International Women's Day about where the traditional image of the Wicked Witch from fairy tales comes from. So it's called Witch's Brew. Once upon a time, there were 3 alewives brewing beer for hearth and home with cats to guard their grain. But the wives dared to sell their brews, placed a broom over the door, ale for sale. Not content, they went to market, cauldrons full, pointy hats upon their heads. All the better to see you with, my dear. Independent women, experts, threats, targets. And the stories were spread, the tools of their trade, the signs of a witch to be feared. Symbols matter, change the meaning, demean them. Cats, now familiars, demons, links to hell, brewed in the cauldron, not beers to sell, but wicked spells, noxious potions, creating commotions, hats above the crowd, proud no more, allowed no more, women to be cowed once more, mock and twist their independence, deny ascendance to equality, link them with depravity and see 3 witches. Brew and boil women's toil, hubble bubble, cause them trouble.
Thank you, Maria. And I hope you enjoyed your free drink from your fridge. That's always a
very tasty.
Thank you. What were you drinking?
Gin and tonic.
Oh. Good for you.
Belfast gin, my favourite at the moment.
Well, cheers, and cheers to Aaron O'Neill, who's next.
I also have an Instagram handle, but I haven't updated in over a year, so don't get too excited. It's called I Can't Believe It's Not Poetry. But it is. So my poems tend to be quite short, so I'm going to fire off a few here. I can just do one if it's going to stop your heart. Okay. Following is a true story. The evening is ticking away in the corner. Your mother's still drinking with no one to scorn her. But it's not your position to be her pretender. You know that your soothing advice will offend her. Father unwilling to be that bit older, entangled in documents loosed from their folder. But never beholden and never mistaken, always the armistice, coldly forsaken. Still you got that new job in the queue every morning, your older companions all queuing in warning. Your breathless belonging to futures remembered will lose its acceptance sometime in November. And still you're in waiting to be by your teacher, your object, your lover, your friend, and your preacher. You know they're indifferent to giving you closure, but you hope for a crack in their steely composure. You sit in your bedroom and think of an ending that you might be present for, weather depending. It's not that you're rushing the train from the station. You fear it's immune to your rushed incantations. That's one. Then I've got a 2-line poem. See if I can remember that one. Love found is words lost. Love lost is words unending. And there's the last one. This is also a true story, but it's less depressing. Whoa, my hands, they smell like crisps. But all the crisps are fled. Could it be the onion rings I chose to have instead? I try to lick it from my hands, but still the smell persists. And doubts, they start to wonder if this crispiness exists. To the bathroom tread my feet and soap upon my palms. Relief begins to fill me as I rinse away my qualms. This cheese and onion terrorist disperses into wisps, but forever am I haunted by the phantom smell of crisps.
Seems like all the best lines of the night are about crisps or Pringles. What was the last line? The phantom?
Smell of crisps.
Brilliant. I love it. Brilliant. Brilliant. Now, well, he gets the munchies thinking about that now. He tries to find the next. Oh, Sue Blue is next.
Thanks very much. We've had a wealth of languages tonight, and I'm going to add to that with my own first language. Let me try to do this without looking. So it's a poem you might have heard before, if not. I'm going to start with the German version first, and then do the English one, just in case. Unterm Silbermond. Und wie oft sehe ich mit sehnsuchtsvollem Blick hinauf zu deinem Fenster unterm Silbermond, wo schon dein süßer Körper warm in Kissen ruht, wenn voll Verlangen erst in mir die Nacht erwacht. Zu mancher Stunde, wenn das Mondlicht durch das Dunkel zieht und mich die Dichtermuse in den Schreibwahn bannt, verzehren meine süßen Fühlerzellen sich nach Berührung, der Sehnsucht nach Berührung deiner sanften Hand. Und meine Sinne wandern weiter deine Flanken lang, bis mit Ersehnten beben ich, wenn meine Nacht getan, mich leis an deine weichen Kurven schmiegen kann. Und selig unterm Silbermond in Schlaf entschwinde, und mein Verlangen wartet auf die nächste Nacht. Under the silver moon. And how often am I looking up with longing gaze to your window high above under the silver moon, where already your body lies in warm devase, when inside me with desire now the night awakes. In many hours when the moonlight travels through the dark, and the muse of poems binds me in a writing trance, my tender feeler cells are all consumed in longing for the touch from your gentle hands. And my senses wander further down along your flanks, until with yearning quiver, when my night is done, I quietly can nestle to your supple curves at last, and disappear in bliss to sleep under the silver moon. And my desire is waiting for another night.
Thanks, Sue. Thank God the lights were on. Thank God the lights were on. We're going to go back online for our last Zoom contribution tonight from Mona Lynch.
Thank you. The Cork County Library are bringing out an anthology dealing with the world transformed. And this poem has just been accepted for that anthology. It deals with something that happened in the late 1950s when my sister emigrated and left me her rally bike with a dynamo. I called it High Summer. My royal chariot with singing wheels, a pump for punctures, a repair kit in a leather bag strapped under the shining saddle. After school, I could join friends, whiz out the low road to the Sharnock River, where we paddle, lulled by butterworth, sundew, royal fern that clothes the banks. Grey wagtails and dippers, ignoring our shouts, sing their own song. Our 2-pound jam jars at the ready to catch collies tickling our toes as we wade over polished stones. The water meanders from the foothills of the Bogaras, takes a turn at the bridge near Pod's Cross, and joins the Lee at Carrigrahan. Whooping boys dive in the deeper spots. We were warned to avoid whirlpools and boys, but in high grass, peppered with cuckoo spit, I had my first kiss.
Thanks, Mona. Always good advice. Avoid whirlpools and boys. Jim Prickard is next.
Thank you, Stan. So this poem is actually Cork City Libraries put it up in Tremor Valley Park, and I'm hoping there's going to be loads of complaints about it. It's called Sex in the Housing Crisis, of which there's none. It's in there, yeah. We are the generation of born-again virgins. Headboards disturb housemates on shift work. Air traffic controllers should be included in rent to coordinate times to get the ride. Landlords can afford to support our sex lives and change the carpets once in a while. We are the generation of born-again virgins. Like ships in the night, we work to survive. But we are no 30-year-old cargo boats anchored in the harbour, waiting for labour. We are Ferrari red speedboats with miles to go before we sleep. Miles to go before we sleep. We are the generation of born-again virgins. Nothing kills the mood like mildew. Home Sense is built on the backs of millennials, fumigating probate houses, converted into one-beds, with constellations of mould, and half their salary paid to make out on an old couch facing a microwave. We are the generation of born-again virgins. If you're living with your parents, you can forget it. Unless you can face breaking their trust, or condoms in the toilet drain. We must not forget about our parents' sex lives. Afraid they're 30-somethings. Oh no, afraid their bed springs will be heard by 30-somethings. So let's give the government hell for this intergenerational dry spell.
Thanks, Jim. And I'm sure your Instagram details are on the poem in the Tremor Valley Park if anybody wants it. Oh yeah, my visions of people out with their families, children reading that on a Sunday morning. Shocking. They should actually just have a stack of complaint forms next to it. You know what I mean? Next up is Jamie, another man who doesn't have a surname. What the fuck is going on? Two more.
Yeah, Jamie Lawton, if anyone's curious. At Jamie Lockdown on Twitter, mostly moaning about politics. Join me in the pit. So yeah, we had one guest poet who was like multilingual and another guest poet who's sort of like rap and hip hop inspired. So I figured I'd split the difference. Listen to that, lads. The language is back. We've got podcasts and pop-ups and pretty good rap tracks that backtrack the narrative that it is waning. Waxing's more like it. It's time for reclaiming the Gaelic that ancient invaders would take from us. Not that I'm saying our neighbours are hated, but this is our chance to take it all back in our verses, our poems, our songs and our tracks. My Gaelic is basic. It needs some more training, but I'll try to rein in my fear of mistaking a shevu or uru or tishul or two, my fear of inflaming a bout of complaining from militant Gaelgory, sitting ashamed that I left out some shevaha. All I can say is that if we're afraid of engaging full stop, the rate of revival will drop. And we can't let that happen, because the fact of the matter is that when the Sassanid left us, Gonchanga, they left us with half of our literary hands to be tied up and trapped behind all of our backs. And so just for the crack, I freed up my atrophied love, and let's see what it has in the tank. Nila kupla fakla gomak, fanigino made agus eshi gilom, changa bio, agus bekshi gajo, ni mayer yen. Sorry, this is why we bring it up on our phone. Okay. Ma yerfaina in rodella na ishlo ta pop-up geltuk down agus banam ar kneecap is a shinanam of egdana van recap mar nierna meesta deras gelger fag deathblina ach nach wimisha an sha egdana of tina ar an microphone ni bean bail in a host agus ta isagum will comma lehena aka tasalokt ta fai ben enough ta dina bokt ta dina sleeping rough ta dina erna shidana egari for egari flock ach tard gultur on a talk tard changa part and ska Tangilga chopped Arasharish is Farna Vishiri from Malga.
Thanks, Jamie. Right, we had 26 people on the list. We've got 2 to go. We're really running tight for time, so I don't want to, I'm going to get you up, but don't go bloopers. We're You sure? All right, you're absolutely sure. John A. Neville in his last.
I have it written on a piece of paper, and I won't keep you long, it's short. And I say that it's ironic that the earlier man that came in tonight with the red beard, his poem is the other side of that, of this. So you're the young side and I'm the old side. I signed my will today. I asked the man. He said, you're on your way. There are no guarantees, my friend. One can't predict the end. But my best guess is 6 months and a day. 6 months and a day. No, I have no wish to pray. Lay me down in deep, dark clay. Ask the people in to hear what I must say. 6 months and a day. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Lovely, lovely way to finish what has been an amazing night. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all who contributed. It's been absolutely brilliant. Can we get one more massive round of applause for our two Coventry guests? They're appearing in Clonakilty tomorrow night. That's what happens when you ask for a big round of applause, they take you seriously, you know what I mean? They're appearing in Clonakilty in the spoken word in the Barrows tomorrow night. There's Paul is heading down with them early in the day. I'm going to drive down later in the evening. Anybody wants to come along? Yeah, anyone wants to come along, jump in the car, get a lift down and join another great night, you're more than welcome, all right? Thank you for being here. I'm not sure whether 674 or 675 is the right number because Paul's got one on each, but it's been the 674th, maybe 5th Ovale night. My name has been Stan Knock. You can get me on Instagram at Stan Knock Creations. Good night.
Well done, Stan. You're always brilliant. You got my biro?
I've just given it to Paul. Remember, I've forgotten.
As I said, I mean, I saw it today. It's really not compared to the that's where I was. Backstage, like, suicide definitely